13th. My name is Tara, and I will be sharing this design information with you today. And joining us is James, our technical manager. So in this webinar, we're going to talk about translating your brand into PandaDoc so that you can send beautiful documents to your clients. We'll discuss cover pages, image resolution, and making the most of PandaDoc's building blocks, and some other basic design elements as well. Feel free to download our handouts in the webinar, and if you have questions along the way, please type them into the question box inside the GoToWebinar panel. So let's kick it off. I know you guys, the majority of you should have at least some familiarity with PandaDoc, and you'll see that I'm in the templates area of PandaDoc. I've opened a template, and this is a template that we're going to look at and somewhat replicate in here today. So first of all, I want to talk about the PandaDoc blocks. These are the building blocks for PandaDoc templates, and this is what you use to put everything together. This is an example that I put together for us to reference. And you'll notice that I've taken out some of the content here. First thing I want to talk about is our cover page. So a lot of people are always curious what size the cover page should be. And the best recommendation is 1700 pixel by 2200 pixel for US letter, and 1700 by 2405 if you're using the A4 paper size. These can also be found in our FAQ. So if you go to PandaDoc FAQ page, you can enter cover page and you'll find these numbers listed in our information there. So how do you save this cover page? Let's pull this apart. First, we'll see that I have a logo block on the cover page, and I have settings left, center, and right. Then this section is a title area. So this is your title text for cover, and this is just this is a text block. So you can enter information like prepared by. We can use a token preparer. If we had a roll call preparer, you could say preparer first name. And prepare last name. It's a little hard to see this text on here, so I could do a little something like, oops, select that and go to white, maybe bring it down here. So there are a lot of options you can change, like the bold, italicize, underline. So you have some styling options here that you can apply to different blocks in PandaDoc. And again, I just used the color palette to change the color on this text block. You can also align it center, left, right. I think I'll align this left. And you can move this around to wherever you'd like for it to sit on the page. You'll also notice that in this text block we have the option for 1 or 2 columns. I currently have it set for 1 column. You could change it to 2 and have 2-column text layout. The background is a PNG file, and you'll want to create that in a program like Photoshop or some other image editing program. And you just build this background the way that you want it to appear in PandaDoc, and you save that at these dimensions as a PNG or JPEG file. And if you click onto this cover page, you'll see that you can upload your custom image through this button. So let's go on from the cover page now and take a look at some different layouts and pieces. The first thing I want to look at is this header. So in PandaDoc, when you add a header block, and we'll grab it, it's right here, just pull it in. The header block has three options: image left or image right, or just text. We're going to choose the image left. I'm going to go to our image library. So as you upload new images into PandaDoc, you have the option of using and saving to a library. So you'll see that I have a lot of my images already in the library here, and I'm just going to grab the logo and place it in. You can also add custom text to the header, maybe an address, phone number. We want to push this over so it has some balance. So we can either right align this text, which is great, or we can use the indent to push it over if we want to maintain that left alignment. So there we have our header block. Now in PandaDoc, the header block is only going to show up one time on the web view. Header and footer show one time on the web view because it's a solid white scrolling page. It would look odd if this was to show up multiple times in the web view. However, when you print it to PDF, you'll notice that it does repeat on each page of the PDF output. And this will load for in just a moment for us to take a look at. Here is our header, and you see it's replicated on every PDF internal page. The same goes for our footer block, and the footer is right here. Again, once on the web view and each page of the PDF. With the footer, you have the same options: left, right, or text only. And you can also turn on page numbers. You have two choices of page numbers: just a counter, so page 1, page 2, page 3, or you can choose to turn on page X of Y. So we have a couple of options for headings. Here I have a heading block in place. This is a heading. It's an H1, as you can see. PandaDoc has various heading sizes. So heading 1 is the largest, and heading 6 is the smallest. You can organize your templates and separate content by using these headings, again, in multiple sizes. So we have a title and maybe a subtitle here. We'll go in H3, and this could be a subtitle. Now, you'll notice that my H3 is using a blue color, and that's because I have turned on design element. So if I click on more on the right, there's a button called design, and if I open that design panel, there are a few options here. I can set a heading font and a text font that will apply to all of the content in this template. Right now I have it set to Railway and Source Sans Pro. So let's see what happens if we change it to Roboto. So we see that there is an update through the content throughout. Another option would be Arial. We'll go back to Roboto. Let's do that. So now I have Roboto in my body text, and I have Railway in my headings. So you have those little elements that make a difference in the appearance of your content. And here I have a theme set. So the theme color will apply to the H3, the table headers, and your links. So any links to outside of the document will be this color as well. So let's take a look at that. If I go back to content, here I have my H3, and it told me that it's going to adopt that design theme color that I set. Let's look at a table. Now you'll see the heading is not great. It's taken on that theme color that I set. And the links. So let's add a link in here. We'll link out to the good site. And here we have our live link, and you see it also adopts that design color, the theme color that we've set. Also in design, we have background images. So you can see this is the area behind the document page. This is a landscape layout, so make sure you choose a landscape image. And again, it's a PNG, JPEG, or a GIF or GIF. If you choose to use an animated GIF, that will be fine as well. You can definitely apply animated GIFs in our background image and also in our image blocks. We can update it. You have options for the background type, to tile, to be the original size, or to fill the screen. Here's where we would change our paper size from US letter to A4 or vice versa. And then we have custom CSS, which I won't go into today. That is another training webinar that we have called Advanced Design, and we'll look at that deeper. Themes you can save. So once you start designing and get some styling that you like, you would want to save it as a theme so that you can apply it to future documents or templates. So you would click this button called Save as New Theme, give your theme a title, click Save, and here is my theme called Theme a Title. You definitely want to do a better job at naming it, but hopefully that gives you an idea. So now I have a theme that I can apply to future content. So now we're going to look at our doc we're going to build here. We have images. This is using an image block. Looks like this. You bring that image block in. The image block has three options. One image across, two images across, or three images across. And you'll also notice that they can be independently aligned. So we'll go ahead and grab some images to bring in here. Choose a file, webinars, and let me find my icons. Let's grab that one. And we can use it and save it to the library. Let's grab another one. And one more. So now you'll see that all of these images are aligned left, and you can see the difference as compared to the sample that I had originally set up to share with you today. It looks kind of odd with them all shifted to the left, so we could center them all, which is better. We could also push this one all the way to the left margin, this all the way to the right margin, and of course you would want to keep this one centered. That replicates the original design that I have here. Now, one thing that I want to make you aware of is if we have an image block, and let's say we have 3 images across, but we only want to use like 1 or 2. When you send this document out, these image placeholders won't show up on that document to your recipient. So instead of having an image block where you have one giant image across, you can manage the size of your images. And this probably isn't a good example. Let me get one that's a bit larger. So let's take this, for example. If I make that a 1 image across, it takes up the whole width of the screen. If I set it at 2, it kind of splits the screen. If I set it at 3, then it only takes up a third. And when I print this, you'll notice that those placeholders should not show up in this output. And there we go. So I'm going to remove this image block. Let's talk about some other creative ways we can set up images in PandaDoc. So here I have a table. And one of the reasons I like to use tables to set up images is because I can really control the size of the image. So if I click and turn the header back on, and you'll notice with our tables, when you add it to PandaDoc, it comes with borders and it has the header color, background color, which would not look very nice. But what you can do in PandaDoc is turn those off. So you can turn off the headers and the vertical and horizontal borders, and it looks just like a text block. So if I click back here, I'm going to turn on my header for just a moment because I want to show you how you can change the width of a column and how that affects an image that's been added to one of your table cells. So I can expand that and the image will get larger based on the width of the table column. And if I shrink it, I can shrink it down. So there's a lot of control over the size of my image. And we can see that here again. This is also a table, and I have the header turned off. If I turn it on, I can manage the size of those icons just by stretching that column width and getting it set up just right. So we're running about 20 minutes in. I'm going to pause for a moment and see if there are any questions so far. James, do we have any questions in the chat?
Yes, one question just came in. How do you add the image into the table? Kaylin is asking that question.
Kaylin, that's a great question and important that I share that with you. So thank you for asking. So if I click into a table cell, I'll use my image insert button up at the top. And I can grab an image and load it in. And now I can use that column width to manage the size that the image is displayed at. Oh, here we have a GIF animated. Great question. Thank you for asking, and hopefully that helps. All right, great. Let's keep going then. So one of the questions that I have often, and I talked about it with the cover page, is image resolution. I found that the best way to get good images into PandaDoc that look really great on screen and really great in the PDF output is to set your image resolution to 200 in whatever image editor you're working with. And just a quick understanding of images, because they're coming through PandaDoc, which is web-based, it really doesn't matter what resolution you set them at. What matters is the pixel size. So the pixel width times the pixel height is what is most important when you're generating images to bring into PandaDoc. What I've found, though, is if, for instance, you're in Photoshop and you open your image, and the majority of print images are set at 300 ppi, and so what I do is res that down to 200, and whatever that dimension is with regard to pixel is what it is a good size for PandaDoc. I hope that wasn't terribly confusing. I know it is slightly confusing, but I think it's really important that, and it's very helpful when you're building out your images to bring in. So I would set them to the size that I would want them to appear on your page and res them at 200. and output them as a PNG, which is going to be the perfect pixel dimensions to bring into PandaDoc to view in web and in the PDF output. Okay, so images via blocks. Another thing that I want to show you is we can add images to text blocks as well with the same button that we used for the table. So I'll grab an image here. And this is our big image. Now earlier I showed you that we could modify the width and height of this image in the table based on the width of the column. Here you can still change the width of the image. You'll see this little grab box on the bottom. So we grab that and we can shrink it. And then we could take some text. Let's just copy from here and paste in here. And you'll see that it's nice because it wraps around. Images that are brought in through the image insert button can also be positioned left, center, or right. You click to activate the image, click the settings, and you can move it left to right or center. You can also add a link to your image and also have that link open in a new tab so that they don't leave your document. The other way that we can use a text block with text and image, we bring another text box in, and you'll see that we have the options of image left, image right, or just text. So when these images are used, we bring in that same graphic. It takes up a whole left section. So let's see what that looks like when I add text. So you'll see it does not wrap. When you use the image insert button, you can wrap text. When you use the text left or right, it's not going to wrap because this whole column is dedicated to image. So I can continue to paste all the way down, and it's not going to fill anything below that image is allocated to a third column. Take some of this out. Another recommendation is using videos in your presentations to your customers. And to set up a video in PandaDoc, we just bring in this video block right here, drop it in. We go to YouTube or Wistia or Vimeo and grab that video URL. So let's go ahead and grab one here. And I'll click on that video block and drop it right in, save it. And now it's right here in our document. And your client can play it right from the web view that they receive, which is really nice. So I wanted to talk about, I wrote up a couple of recommendations. We have a lot of people ask us about best practices. Proposal, best practices. Include enough information so that your client can make a decision, but don't include so much that it becomes overwhelming to your reader. So make what you say count. Use images to break up the text and engage them visually at various points in your content. This is a really good practice. It gives their eyes a break from the text, and it'll help your reader stay focused and engaged. And then again, use video. Statistically, this is the most engaging way to communicate with your reader. People love to watch video. Some ideas on videos are recording like personalized videos by your sales team that they can drop in and really speak to this particular client. So those are just some quick tips on recommended best practices for proposals. All right, so we talked about the image block and how you can arrange those. Let's see what else we have in our original document. I think we're pretty close to everything that I wanted to cover today. So really the last of this webinar is going to be around any questions that you guys have about what you've seen, what we've talked about, or anything that you feel like I've overlooked that would be important to you guys and that would be helpful. James, do we have any more questions in the chat?
No. Oh, sorry about that. Nope, not any specific questions regarding design, but thank you so much, Tara. Excellent job going through and helping us all out, talking about that, so well done. Give it a few more seconds, everybody, and as always, everybody, we do also have upcoming webinars here in the future, next few weeks or so. Question from Jonathan. Any suggestions how to organize images in PandaDoc? So that'd be probably a good question about the image library.
It is. So yeah, if you save images to your image library, we can click on the library button on the right-hand side of our menu, and we have the images here. So you can search images, which makes it really important that you title them in a way that they are easily searchable, because that is what our search is going to be on, is the title. So now it's pulling up all of my icons. And you can also click into an image. It will show you what that image title is. You can delete images from here. And that is how you can manage your image library in PandaDoc currently, is by clicking on the content library, clicking on the images library, and just opening those up in here and either deleting, updating the title so that they're more easily searchable. And hopefully in the future they'll expand our library functionality so that we can do like a mass import of images and tagging and so forth. Great question, thank you.
We have another question. When should you use the page breaks? I don't always know the best time to use them. Sometimes I just rely on if a prospect wants to print the document and I don't add them to my page at all. This is a question from Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff. That's a great question as well. Managing page breaks in PandaDoc, page break block only affects the PDF output. So there are a couple of thoughts on this, depending on your content. So typically, when we're building a document or template in PandaDoc, and you have various sections of content, those are broken up by headings. So I would always want to put a page break before each new main title or heading or section. So every new section, make sure we have a page break. There's another one. So then, to make sure there are no outliers or odd-looking page breaks, what I recommend is Print Preview, which is under the More tab. And here, it will load in your browser so that you can take a look at what the output is going to look like in PDF. And you'll be able to manage those page breaks if required. So here was my first section, my second heading. It's not quite right. I need to check that. New section here. And then this section. So when I look at this, something's going on there. I would want to make sure let's see, a subtitle. It's coming from here. Let's do that again. So one of the best practices for that currently, because PandaDoc shows everything in one long scrollable page on the web, is to do print preview and check those manually and drop them in wherever they make sense. But again, best practice is using page breaks between main content sections. Another great question. Thank you, Jeff. Okay. Thank you guys very much for joining us today. I really appreciate your time. I hope that this has been somewhat helpful. And again, if you have any background in CSS and want to dig deeper into very customized layouts in PandaDoc, you can join us for our next design webinar, which is Advanced Design. Otherwise, I hope you have a great day. And we do have a survey, so we would appreciate your feedback on our webinar today. Thanks, everybody. Goodbye.